Yes, hello again. This is now tarot lesson number 189, and I'm not quite sure what it's called. So, I've got some notes here, and we're going to look at these 5 cards. But there's a Latin verb pendere, which means to weigh, right? That gives us the English word to ponder, right? Because E and O, and you can see the connection between ponder and pendere. Like if you ponder something, you sort of weigh it, and you're thinking about it, and is it good, is it bad, is it worth it, or is it not? And so that gives us the word imponderable. So the original meaning of ponder was to estimate the weight of something, but that's no longer the main meaning of the word. But we do have the word imponderable because, and I'm talking like this because a lot of questions that people have, they're kind of about imponderables. They want information about things that are really difficult to weigh or to estimate the value of. So if somebody wants to know, for instance, is it a good idea to get a promotion? Then a promotion might mean more money, but it can also mean more responsibility. Will you be able to handle the responsibility? It can mean you've got to spend more time at work, so you've got less time at home. Will you enjoy it? Will you be able to do it? How will your children and your wife or husband react if you're spending an awful lot more time at work? So when you're doing a tarot reading, there's a lot of ifs and possibilities and maybes involved in giving a clear answer. But that's a problem, but it's also a real value, because it means that if you've got a question and it's not clear what everything that's involved in the answer, the tarot can be good because you pick a card or a number of cards, and depending on what the card shows, you can sort of judge: is it going to work out well, or is it going to go against you? Is it worth doing, or is it kind of thing you don't bother about? And an example recently is Liverpool football team. The manager, the coach, is Arne Slot. And they had a run of bad results. They lost a number of games one after the other. So now some people are talking about, let's get rid of the manager and get a new manager. But that's an imponderable, because you can hire a new manager, but how are the players going to react? Is the manager going to be good? Is he going to be able to get the best out of the players? How is he going to get along with the people at the club who've got the money, who control the budget, and so on? There are imponderables. They're hard to judge. So if you want to learn mathematics, you do mathematics. And if you want to learn the tarot, you do the tarot. You play with it, you work with it, you look and see what you can get. So we've got 5 cards here, and I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say because I wanted it to be kind of authentic. So you get the idea that you turn cards and you look at them, and it's not that you're making it up as you go along, but it's more you're being alert to new ideas, or you're paying attention to connections that you're making, maybe for the first time. And because in the same way that you learn mathematics by doing mathematics, so you've got problems and you've got solutions and you figure things out, in the same way we're going to look at these cards and see what we get, see what we can figure out. So the starting point is this word tarot, T-A-R-O-T, right? You know that word. And so I'm using the number system of C C Zain. It's different from Cairo, but that doesn't matter. It's just, it works his way, and it gives you a certain kind of information, and we're going to see what we get. So T happens to be 0 or 22 in his number system. A is 1, R is 20, O is 16, and T is 0 or 22. Right, which means that if we want to turn the word tarot into a spread, we've got T, the Fool, A, the Magician, R, Judgment, O, the Tower, and T, I've only got one Fool card. So let's pretend this is the Fool, okay? Only we're not, later I'm going to do that, but for the moment we're doing that. So imagine that's the Fool card, the Fool card as well. So we could look at this tarot. What is it about? And we go through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got, maybe with the tarot, you've got the urge to do something different, or to take a chance, or to take a risk, or to discover something that means something to you, because up here we've got the white sun that can represent spiritual understanding or something like that. And it's behind you. It's what's motivating you to want to step off the cliff and take a risk, take a chance, and see where you end up. And maybe you're hoping that because you're doing something that's spiritually uplifting, if you fall, it's going to help. It's going to lower you slowly to the ground. So you're not going to crash and burn. You're not going to damage yourself by following that particular path. So this can be why you want to look at the tarot in the first place, or what a questioner is looking for from a tarot reading. They want some kind of enlightenment, represented by the sun up here, right? And then the next card, so you want something deeper or something more important, and then you've got the Magician. So can you be intelligent about things? Can you be creative, because the Magician's creative? Can you conjure something out of nothing, or conjure something up that nobody's ever thought of before? Or that's you, maybe the questioner, and you want something different. You've got it in you. Can you access your own inner intuition or idea that will give you ideas about what to do here, or what to do next after you've stepped off the cliff? And so we've got this figure 8 above the Magician, and he's reaching up as if to tap, or because we've got the baton of the Fool over his shoulder is pointing to the sun. The Magician is reaching up, holding on to light in its own way, and he's got the symbol of infinity over his head, as if he's aware of the fact that things repeat, things come back, that there is no beginning, there's no end. That's a circle, but it's twisted round, and that's a circle of the sun. You bend it that way and you end up with a figure of 8. So we've got the same kind of thing going on here, even though we don't maybe notice it the first time we look at it. So we've got spiritual understanding up here, and this is maybe spiritual understanding. Can we draw spiritual understanding down to earth? We connect with it, and we're pointing down with this left hand. Can we do something with it? And the next card is Judgment, and we've got an angel above. So is this here, the light in the hand, translated into the angel blowing a trumpet in the Judgment card? So you want something better, you've got ideas, you listen to a higher voice, or angels will help you, or you'll get help from invisible forces, or circumstances will conspire to make things happen for you the way you want, all represented by the angel. And if this can be, maybe at the beginning, you want to step off the cliff and discover something better because you're in a coffin. Because at the moment, or currently in your life, you feel as if you're trapped, as if you're in a coffin. You've been confined, you've been restricted, you've been held in or held back, and you want to open the lid and breathe freely, or breathe again. And this can be what the Fool can represent, breathing again. However, it's not all plain sailing, because you've got the Tower that shows a lightning flash, and the people in the tower are knocked down and knocked out. So maybe the first thing that happens, yes, you hear the call, you hear the inspiration, and you want to do big things, right? But you have to deal with Maybe you can't have it always. If you want spiritual understanding, you can't also have, or you have to come up against other people who don't understand what you're after, or who don't appreciate what you're trying to do. And that can be the Tower after here, after the Judgment card. And then at the end, we've got the Fool. They've got the Fool again. So the Fool happens to be looking this way. So maybe after things go wrong, you have to look back to where you've come from and maybe remind yourself about your starting point here, that you wanted something bigger and better and different and inspiring and new and fresh. So if things fall apart, it doesn't mean that it was a mistake. It means remind yourself of your starting point and maybe switch back to there and begin again and go through the whole cycle again. Because remember, we've got the Magician here who understands there's a figure of 8. You go round and round, back and forth, and you cross over. So that's one way of looking at Tarot. But then, so that I want you to look at. So when I first set these 5 cards out, I looked at them and then I thought, we've got 5 cards, so we've got a card in the middle. Maybe we put the Judgment card up here. And so we've got 2 here and 2 here. So maybe the Fool and the Magician go together as being one side of Judgment, and the Tower, and if I can do it, and the Tower and the Fool go on the other side. So maybe Judgment involves, you've got two paths. It is number 20, right? 2 and a 0. So maybe the Judgment card, we've got the Fool and the Magician together telling one kind of story. So you've got the urge to do something new, and you've got ideas that you're going to put into operation, and that will bring about Judgment, because Judgment represents rebirth and renewal. So maybe with the Fool card, and with what the Tarot is about, is whenever you ask a question, really you're looking for renewal or rebirth. You may not consciously know that you want renewal, but if somebody asks about promotion or a relationship or finding a new relationship, you're looking for something better, something new, and something that is an improvement on what you've got at the moment. Because I think that's often why people ask questions, because they're not happy or satisfied with what they've got, and they're looking for something better. Maybe they're looking for the reader to give them inspiration and to be like the angel and blow the trumpet, and to get them motivated to make something of whatever it is they want to do. Or maybe they're looking at the Tarot as some kind of spiritual oracle that will inspire them to want to do something different, or to have the courage to do something different. But it's just the idea, we've got Judgment, so we want renewal. On one side we've got the Fool and the Magician, which is a yellow background in both of them, and it's sunlight, and it's inspirational, and it's new, and it's a beginning because it's number 1. And because it's a beginning, you may have an idea of where you want to go, but you don't really know that much about how you're going to get there, only because you don't have the experience at this point. So the Fool and the Magician together can represent great longing or great optimism, but also lack of experience, because the Fool is 0 and the Magician's only number 1. Right, so we're enthusiastic and childlike, but we don't have that much experience at this point. And that can be, that's one way of aiming for, or one path to travel, if you want renewal and rebirth. But the other side, or the other half, is the Tower and the Fool. So if we put the Tower and the Fool together, it's a bit like, how do you handle disappointment? Or how do you handle upset? Or what do you do if things don't go the way you planned, or the way you expected, or the way you wanted? Do you give up and decide that you're doomed and it was a big mistake in the first place and you should never have done it, so you better crawl back into your cubbyhole, represented by the coffin, and not venture out again because the world is against you and life is unfair? Do you take that kind of attitude or have that kind of approach if circumstances don't go your way? Or do you take hope or take courage from the Fool card? Because it's not just the Tower, it's the Tower and the Fool together. And maybe, I can't remember what I said before about the Fool is looking in this direction. I often don't bother with which people are looking, but in this case, maybe I would think, okay, the Fool is looking at the Tower, and the Fool was the beginning point, if I could move that to here. So if you want renewal, on the one hand, you have to be, you have to have an idea of what kind of renewal you want. If you know what direction you're going, that you want to go in, you've got a better chance of actually going in that direction. So maybe with the tarot, it's a good idea to have an idea of what you want out of it before you begin, so you know what you can, what you're aiming for. But at the same time, not everything is going to work out exactly the way you want every time. So how are you going to handle disappointment, or how are you going to handle obstacles that are maybe in your path, represented by the Tower card? And what do? Remind yourself about the Fool. Remind yourself about why you set out in the first place. And it was because maybe with this the Fool here, if I can look at it, we've got I'm looking at the baton in his hand, and the fact that it's pointing at the sun. Maybe that's the important thing about the tarot, is that people who look to the tarot or work with it, maybe they're aware of the fact that there is an invisible life, an invisible force operating in life as well as what we can see. And maybe it's the search for, or the desire to experience the invisible that makes us, or that makes people look to the tarot and occult forms and divination in the first place. Because if you think about the word divination, it's got the word divine in it. And so divination is a bit like, you want to connect with God, whatever God might mean, or you want to be divinely inspired. You don't want just to be inspired by, okay, I'm in a supermarket and I'm going to buy some soft drinks, and I've seen 1,000 adverts for Coca-Cola. So I look at the shelf of soft drinks and I automatically pick Coca-Cola because I've been programmed to want Coca-Cola, even though I don't actually want Coca-Cola. And maybe it's the same, so that instead of being motivated by repeated adverts and being manipulated by the media and by advertising into thinking you want something, but you don't realize you've been programmed to desire it in the first place. If you go to checkout counters in supermarkets, they've got chocolate bars and candy bars and so on at the checkout, and a lot of it is there because it's an impulse buy. You didn't mean to buy a Mars bar, or I say that because yesterday my wife and I were out getting groceries and she picked up a Mars bar at the checkout, and on Mars bar there's a red MARS. And so she didn't realize she wanted the Mars bar, she said. And I thought, yeah, sure. Okay, so we can do what we do and think we're logical and rational and reasonable, and we're doing what we really want to do. To a large extent, we're manipulated and we don't realize it. And maybe that's what we can get from the tarot, that it can undo or let us not be so influenced by advertising and the media and that kind of thing, and we can ultimately be more independent. So we want to be the Magician as a second card in Tarot. So if you want to learn mathematics, you do mathematics. If you want to learn the tarot, you do the tarot in different kinds of ways. Sometimes you answer questions. Oh, Magician fell out again. And the Temperance card. So what do we do with that? We've got the Magician that represents creativity. And you personally, I'm pointing at you, your imagination. So let it transform you, the Temperance card, and do something with it, with your imagination, with your ideas, rather than not do anything about it. So for mathematics, do mathematics. For the tarot, do the tarot. And sometimes you ask questions. Other times you play with cards and just see what you notice this time that's different from what you noticed last time. And that was it. So in the description, I'm going to put what the letters of the English alphabet that C C Zain says go with each of the major trumps. And there'll also be a couple of links, one to the last Substack Tarot article about the Emperor card, and also a link to the Astrology Tune Up post number 2 about how to begin to learn to read horoscopes. And that was it. So I'll see you in a few days. Okay? Bye-bye.